How's it going, everyone? Jimmy here, and today I want to talk a little bit about the patch notes for Arcade Edition because we finally got those, and to be honest, they are pretty disappointing for a number of reasons. The first thing that is disappointing is the fact that they're just too vague. A lot of moves don't have accurate descriptions of the actual change. Instead, Capcom decided to just let us know they changed the hitbox and the hurtbox of a move. And that's really weird. Like, we don't even know whether it's a buff or a nerf, so basically we have to wait until Arcade Edition gets released to see what actually changed and whether it's a buff or a nerf. So that's the first thing that is pretty disappointing. I don't really know why Capcom decided that was a good idea. Maybe they ran out of time, because in the past they did actually show us the change, whether it's a buff or a nerf. So that's kind of odd. Secondly, the patch notes, they're not really what I expected personally. I really thought Capcom was gonna change up the game a little bit more. The changes aren't that drastic, to be honest, especially for Ryu, but we're gonna get into that a little bit later. So yeah, in general, I'm a little bit disappointed just because the overall changes, they're not that significant. I feel like the overall game is going to stay the same, which kind of is a bad thing, but who knows, maybe I'm just underestimating the changes. But from what I've seen, the game is pretty much going to stay the same for the most part, except for like a few key changes, I guess. But I really thought Capcom was gonna change it up a little bit more, just so that we have a little bit more variety, because like people have been very vocal about some of the things that we saw in Season 2 that are just not okay. Capcom did respond in the patch notes, but I also feel like they weren't really sure whether they want to really patch it up the way people expected it to. I'm not really sure how to describe this, but like reading through the patch notes, especially going, like, they're gonna rename Street Fighter V, right? So we're gonna go from regular 5 to Arcade Edition, so it's supposed to be a different version of the game, but the patch notes, they don't really reflect that. I do feel like overall the game is gonna stay mostly the same. So for this video, I do want to focus on Ryu's changes and briefly mention some of the other changes. But I'm certainly not going to go into full detail on every single character. But I want to give you guys my perspective as a Ryu player. So let's start off with the Ryu changes for Arcade Edition. So the first change that Capcom mentions is for his forward throw. They are going to increase the stun from 120 to 150, and they changed the positioning after hit. Now the second one, this is what I mean when I'm saying, okay, like the patch notes are really vague. This could mean a variety of things. This could really totally make Ryu's forward throw great again, or it just could mean almost like nothing. I'm not really sure which one it is. Maybe it's something in the middle. Probably it's something in the middle, but yeah. Certainly this is a buff for his forward throw, because I think he had like the worst forward throw in the game. So changing the positioning after hit, this has to be a buff. There's no way they're nerfing this move further. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, because I do believe this is one of the key things that made Ryu weak in Season 2. Simply because, like, in Street Fighter V in general, you don't want to tech a lot of throws. And for Ryu, you never ever want to tech a throw, because like if you never tech a throw against Ryu, you actually cannot lose. I'm still amazed, by the way, at the fact that I'm winning games because people keep teching against Ryu for no reason. But yeah, let's get back to business. So the next thing is the Standing Light Punch. They changed the hit and hurt box of the Standing Light Punch. We don't really know what exactly that means, although they do mention that they increased the pushback on hit and block, which is actually kind of bad. This is a nerf for Ryu. Some Ryu players like to do double light punch into light kick combos, which probably don't work anymore in Arcade Edition. So yeah, this is a nerf. I really wonder why they did it, because like this is a really weird change, so I don't really get it. It's not that significant though. So yeah, whatever. Next up, we have changes for Ryu's Standing Medium Punch and his parry. the Mind's Eye, and Capcom says they changed the collision boxes during the move. Not really sure what this change is all about. Collision boxes are responsible so you can't pass through your opponent. They're also there to detect whether your throw attempt is going to be successful or not. But yeah, maybe I'll do a tutorial on collision boxes another time. But I don't really understand this change, and once again, the change is really vague. We don't really know whether this is a buff or a nerf. Maybe you'll be able to grab someone out of an standing medium punch attempt a little bit more successfully. I don't really know. This could be either a nerf or a buff, but they actually changed a lot. Like this line changed the collision boxes during the move. I read that so many times during the time when I went through the patch notes. Maybe Capcom has figured out there's a specific problem that they needed to address with the collision boxes, but who knows. Next up, we have the crouching light punch of Ryu. They changed the hurt box. Once again, this is super vague. I have no clue whether this is a buff or a nerf. I guess we'll have to see, but this is probably insignificant, so yeah. So the next change is pretty interesting. They changed the crouching medium kick, and this one is a buff and a nerf at the same time. They changed the hitbox, and I'm assuming they buffed the hitbox because there's no way they would nerf it because it's already ridiculously bad. So yeah, this is definitely a good change if they made the hitbox a little bit better, because currently it basically has no range. The main problem is though, crouching medium kick doesn't really combo very well into Fireball, and Capcom thought it's a great idea to make that problem even worse in Arcade Edition by increasing the pushback distance on hit. So in Arcade Edition, if you land a crouching medium kick, it's even less likely to combo into Fireball. Really have no clue what Capcom is thinking here. Maybe they want to have crouching medium kick and crouching medium punch be a little bit different. At the moment, crouching medium punch is basically a better version of crouching medium kick. The only difference between the two is basically that crouching medium kick has to be blocked low, which is a big deal. This is why people are asking for a buff for this move. This basically forces the opponent to hold down back, which is very important. But yeah, I don't really know, I don't really get this change. It's a little bit upsetting, to be honest, because you would think they would make Ryu's game stronger in the mid-screen, but it's a mixed bag, and I'm not really sure what to think about that. Maybe the hitbox is really great, and if that's the case, then I'm actually happy with it, because if Ryu has a ridiculous button that is safe on block, and has to be blocked low, then that's gonna actually change Ryu's gameplay a lot. So I guess we'll have to wait and see for that one. So for jumping hard punch and hard kick, Capcom changed the hit and hurt box. Once again, we don't really know what's going on, but I do have a story to tell about these two moves. In Street Fighter 4, these two moves had specific uses and they were actually different. Hard punch had a better downwards hitbox, so it was impossible to low profile yourself under the move. On the other hand, hard kick, you could low profile yourself under that with specific moves, but the upside for jumping hard kick was it had a really good range. So when you were jumping in as Ryu in Street Fighter 4, you always had to make this kind of decision. Okay, do you need the range of the hard kick, or do you need the reliability of the hard punch? And sometimes it was not easy to make that decision. So when I started playing Street Fighter 5, I was really shocked that both moves seemed to have the same properties. I could not tell what the difference between the two moves is or was until this day. And maybe Capcom decided to finally make the two different, so we could actually make a decision when we jump on whether to use hard punch and hard kick, because at the moment they're basically identical from what I can tell. Next up, we have changes for the axe kick. So they increased the start from 8 frames to 9 frames, and they increased the advantage frames when cancelling the second hit into V-trigger. Now, this one is a mixed bag once again. It's a nerf and a buff at the same time. If you cancel the second hit into V-trigger, then you can actually combo into solar plexus now. We've seen a couple of combos online. They look really flashy, but I'm predicting this is going to be useless for a number of reasons. First of all, they increased the startup from 8 frames to 9 frames. That's a bad change. Now that the axe kick is even slower, like it's less, it's like you just don't want to use it that much anymore. And well, in season 2 you wouldn't even use the axe kick that much to begin with, because it's not a good button. You're -2 when you do axe kick, so you don't want to do that on the opponent's wake up. Maybe if you're a beginner it makes sense because it's really easy to hit confirm from the axe kick, but other than that I would not recommend doing axe kick on wake up. So yeah, like when would you ever be next to your opponent and do axe kick, V-trigger into solar plexus? Like, first of all, once again, this is just not a, like, you don't want to do axe kick when you do a meaty attack. And secondly, because of a change that they also did, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on, but basically they made V-trigger combos weaker. You don't want to do this combo anyways, so I really don't see the point. So in my opinion, like, even though they kind of buffed the axe kick with the V-trigger cancel and like the advantage frames, for me personally this is just a nerf because I will probably never use it this way. Although I might test it out, maybe I'm wrong on this one, but I do feel like this is a nerf. This is just a nerf, not a buff. Next one, Solar Plexus Strike, my favorite move. It got nerfed, of course, because Ryu's too OP apparently in season 2. So they reduced damage from 90 to 80. No clue why this is the case, but okay. Like, overall damage got nerfed across the board, so maybe they felt like Ryu needs to be in line of these kind of changes. So yeah, it's not a big deal. They didn't change any frames. Solar Plexus Strike is a great move, and it's gonna stay a great move even after this change. So for Ryu's Tatsu, they changed the collision boxes. Not a lot to say about this one. We just don't know any specifics on how the collision boxes got changed, so I'm assuming this is not going to be a big change. Probably not going to have any big impact. Maybe a couple of glitches or like weird behavior that Capcom is trying to fix with this one. So EX Fireball is actually getting buffed. I can't believe Ryu is getting just a buff for something. So yeah, they reduced the total frames from 44 frames to 42 frames. And you can cancel into V-trigger. Now, like, first of all, the frames change. This is gonna be huge. It might seem insignificant to cut down EX Fireball by 2 frames, but trust me, every single frame that you cut down on a Fireball for Ryu is gonna have a gigantic impact. When I do EX Fireball and my opponent happens to jump, there's a very good chance in Arcade Edition that I'm still going to be able to anti-air, where in previous versions I would have just eaten, like my opponent would have just gotten a jump in. So this is a very cool change. I'm happy about that. Canceling into V-trigger, this one I'm actually not sure at all whether this is going to make sense or not. I've been trying to figure out a couple of situations where this makes sense. I've not really seen any footage, but I've heard you can basically do EX Fireball, V-trigger, and combo into Shoryuken, which is pretty cool actually. I'm really happy about that. This seems to be a pretty cool way to activate V-trigger, but at the same time, is it better than just doing like a sweep into V-trigger? I really wonder how this is gonna change Ryu. One significant thing that I can think of at the moment though is you do, like, let's say you're playing the mid-screen game, and you do an EX Fireball into V-trigger. Depending on how quickly you can cancel the V-trigger, you might be able to safely dash up to your opponent and apply pressure for free, basically, without the opponent being able to do anything about it. Kind of like Akuma. Akuma has that ability at the moment, and with Akuma you can totally see how this is a very powerful technique for him. And so yeah, I wonder whether it's going to be as strong as with Akuma. I doubt it. Ryu's EX Fireball also gives knockdown state, so this is bad for the V-trigger cancel. But yeah, who knows? Maybe this is going to be great. I'm certainly going to test it out. a lot and see what I can do with it. So next up we have Ryu's Fireball in V-Trigger mode, and as you can see they changed quite a lot about it, but those are just minor adjustments, so increased disadvantage on block and all that kind of stuff. I don't really want to talk too much about the Fireball. It's just a slight buff, and honestly it seems very minor. This is not big at all. This is not significantly improving Ryu's first V-Trigger, so yeah, it's those are good changes, but yeah, overall this is just minor stuff. This is nothing big to talk about, to be honest. So next up we have changes to the EX Fireball in V-Trigger mode. Once again, this is not too significant. It's a little bit buff, but it doesn't really matter too much because you're very rarely going to throw a lot of fireballs in V-Trigger mode. You literally cannot throw a lot of fireballs in V-Trigger mode, so I do feel like this is an insignificant buff. So next up we have EX Shoryuken in V-Trigger mode, and this one is a nerf once again. I'm really happy about that. So they decreased the stun from 250 to 200. Like, do I really have to comment here? I mean, this is like, to be fair, EXDP in V-Trigger mode does ridiculous stun at the moment, and I got a couple of stun situations that I never saw coming because I thought, okay, the stun bar is kind of high but not high enough to get the stun. Then you do EXDP and all of a sudden the opponent is stunned. This did happen, but Ryu really needs any help he can get, so I don't really understand why you would decrease the stun, especially because V-Trigger of Ryu, like V-Trigger 1 of Ryu is just weak. So why would you make it even weaker? Like I don't get this one. I feel like this is an unnecessary nerf. And the last change to Ryu, they added the Donkey Kick move. So this one should be interesting to toy around with. I mean, I've done a video about the Donkey Kick before it got announced, and I didn't really, or I still don't feel like they should have added the move for a number of reasons. So you can check out that video if you're interested in that, in my opinion on that. But basically, I mean, the move is there. We know it's gonna come. It has a terrible animation, and we're certainly gonna try it out and see what it can do with this. The Donkey Kick itself seems like a good, like, from what I've seen, you can't really combo into too much from the Donkey Kick, so the combo potential is limited. You have to be careful when to use it because it's minus on block, so you really have to be very careful with this move. But if you use it correctly, I'm sure it has its uses, because it would be stupid for Capcom to add a move that you cannot really use, right? So I'll definitely try it out and see how far I can go with the Donkey Kick. So yeah, those are the changes for Ryu in Arcade Edition. You probably see why I'm a little bit disappointed for Ryu. It seems like it's, for some reason, it's a mixed bag. He actually got a lot of nerfs, not just buffs, and this might seem bad because Ryu is, like, in my opinion, Ryu is the worst character at the moment in the cast. And if you're gonna nerf him even further, is that, like, how does that make sense? And you have to understand a couple of things, how balancing works. Ryu is not the only character that is being changed, and a lot of problematic characters that Ryu, like a lot of problematic matchups that Ryu has, are gonna be better just because these characters he has issues with are getting nerfed as well. So Balrog and Ibuki, for example, are seeing some heavy nerfs. Urian's stupid standing hard punch crush counter is also seeing a nerf. In general, crush counters are being significantly toned down, which is basically, that's a Ryu buff. So yeah, we can look forward to that, I think. So yeah, but like, Ryu is not going to change that much. Donkey Kick and maybe Ryu's throw, these are like the two changes that might have the biggest impact on Ryu's gameplay. This is my prediction for now. We'll have to wait and see though. But yeah, I want to go through the overall balance changes that Capcom has mentioned as well though. So first of all, they increased the active frames from regular throws from 2 frames to 3 frames. I think that's a great change because it was very difficult to get a meaty throw on your opponent because of how invincibility against throws work when you wake up. The first 2 frames when you wake up, you're throw invincible actually, and this has led into a situation where you can get a wake up jab very consistently when your opponent is trying to throw you on wake up, and having an extra frame, an extra active frame here, this is certainly going to help out a lot to get more consistency out of whatever you're trying to do. And it's very frustrating to try to perfectly time your throw, and then your opponent gets a standing jab and wins, and it's just like, no, that should just not happen. And fortunately, in Arcade Edition, it's less likely to happen. So next up, we have increased combo scaling for combos that include a V-trigger activation, and this one is quite interesting. It seems like Capcom wants to tone down combo potential, because like the damage output in general of Street Fighter V is really high, and basically when you get hit once, you kinda die in Street Fighter V at the moment, and this is a very frustrating experience. It feels like there are very few key moments within one round that decide whether you lose or win a round, and this change in particular is gonna help make the game a little bit more consistent. So you're basically you have to play more neutral game because your damage output is lower. So yeah, you have to get your opponent into bad spots a little bit more to win a round, which is a great thing, because if you're outplaying your opponent, you're supposed to win the round. That's how it's supposed to work, and at the moment, like, that's really not how Street Fighter V works. So command throws in Arcade Edition are being nerfed, which is a great thing for a Ryu player, obviously. We have a little bit more time now to punish these command throws, so I'm looking forward to that. So this next one is interestingly phrased by Capcom. So they are saying, made revisions to the hurt boxes for jumping attacks and to the normal moves that are primarily used as anti-airs. So what Capcom is trying to tell you here is they nerfed anti-air jab, and the way they're gonna do this is they're gonna at least this is what I'm reading out of this one. They're gonna make the hurt boxes for jumping attacks smaller, which in return is gonna make them more likely to win against anti-air jab. But because they're doing this, like normals that are actually used as anti-airs, like the back medium punch of Cammy, for example, in order for that move to not lose against jump-in attacks in Arcade Edition, these anti-air normals have to be buffed, which is a good thing. A lot of people were complaining about anti-air jabs, and I'm still not so sure what I think about anti-air jabs in Street Fighter V, to be honest. Because jump-ins are really strong in Street Fighter V, and I've always said anti-air jabs, they are problematic, they're bullshit, they're definitely bullshit, and they need to go. But the main problem is not anti-air jabs, it's that the game revolves around jumping so much, and I kind of wish that would change. In Arcade Edition, it seems like this is not gonna change. This change by itself is gonna make jump-ins even better, right? So I don't really like that too much, but at the same time, standing light punch anti-airs, that just had to go, and I'm happy they seem to be removing that as well. So the last change that they are mentioning here is pretty funny, to be honest, because it kind of shows the theme of the patch notes. So they changed the properties of moves that change the position of the character, which may affect certain combos. This is like the longest sentence that I've read in a long time that doesn't say anything. And this is how the patch notes themselves feel. I have no clue what Capcom means by that. I have no clue which characters are affected. I have no clue what moves specifically are affected. And yeah, Capcom is just super vague on this one, and in general Capcom is super vague with the patch notes. This is why I'm saying we can't really know for sure how the game is going to feel and play until we've actually tested out Arcade Edition and seen for ourselves what it's going to be like to play. One more thing that is worth mentioning though is while I was going through the patch notes, it was very clear Capcom wants to nerf throw loops, they want to nerf crush counters in general, and this is a great thing because it's basically going to force players to play a more neutral game, and the player who wins the neutral game more consistently is supposed to be the winner of the match, right? And I feel like Arcade Edition is definitely heading in that direction. So yeah, I want to stay optimistic, and I really hope that the game is going to change in a way that it's more footsie based. It should feel more honest to win. Whenever you're winning, you're supposed to feel like you earned that win, and whenever you're losing, you're also supposed to feel like you deserve to lose. And I do feel like this is a major flaw in Street Fighter V's gameplay at the moment. People who lose their rounds, they don't feel like they deserve to lose. They just feel like, oh, my opponent got a random crush counter mid-screen, and then they activated V-Trigger, and I died because I had to guess, like I got put in a 50-50 spot, I guessed wrong, and I died. This is basically how Street Fighter V works at the moment, and this is where a lot of frustration comes from a lot of top players, and also from the casual audience. And I do feel like Capcom thought, okay, they're gonna create like this crazy comeback mechanic with crush counters and high damage output. They wanted to create a lot of hype moments, I feel like, for the tournament scene, but it's not really hype if every single round you see a crazy comeback, because it's so easy to achieve. And I do feel like Capcom is definitely trying to fix that. They understand that this is not a cool way to win a round or lose a round from the other perspective, and I'm happy they're going in this direction. So yeah guys, these are my thoughts on the patch notes for Arcade Edition, but I'm definitely interested in your opinion. What do you think about the patch notes? What do you think about Ryu, the changes that he got? Do you think he's gonna stay bottom tier in Arcade Edition? Do you think he's gonna be in a better place because of all the other changes to the game? I'm definitely interested, so please leave a comment in the comment section below. So guys, thanks a lot for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.